I shed the idea that my body is as old as my passport says, in order to unlock the wisdom in my body that is millions of years old. Because if I live in this belief that my body is only 40, 50, 60 years old, then I block the access to a much wider wisdom.
Welcome to Point of Relation with Thomas Hübl, a podcast that illuminates the path to collective healing at the intersection of science and mysticism. This is the Point of Relation.
This episode was recorded during a session of the Mystic Cafe, a global membership community with Thomas Hübl featuring live teachings, meditations, discussions, and Q&A, all taking place online. To learn more or to become a member of the Mystic Cafe, visit www.mysticcafeonline.com.
The karma of the world makes life more heavy and more fixated, like this is how it is, then life really is. Life is a fluid process that can be rewritten anytime. So when we come closer to creation itself, so the Kundalini stream, the awakening of the Kundalini stream is a realization that creation itself, first of all, is happening now, is happening through all of us. And that's not just an intellectual idea, that's a felt sense. And in creation, everything that exists is only defined by its existence. I see this again. In creation itself, everything that exists is just defined by its existence. It's not defined by a cause of chain and effect. Like there's a chain of cause and effect. So this exists because this exists because this exists. In the moment I'm in that, I know I'm in the world of karma. Oh, I carry this trauma because of my childhood, because of my ancestors, so that's a chain of cause and effect. That chain of cause and effect makes an object blurry, like as if it has many shades and many shades and many shades. Those shades are karma. But we are so used that we are looking at the world of karma that we normalize that. And then everything that exists needs to have multiple reasons as a chain instead of creation itself. And that's why we, through contemplation or meditation and contemplation and filling our sensory input with more and more awareness, that's one way how we notice the frozen world and the fluid world. So we notice more and more the difference between the frozen world and the fluid world. The fluid world is integrated, present and flowing. The frozen world is repetitive, is non-emergent, it doesn't have a future. And it's happening again and again, and both together look like society, look like humanity, look like life, look like me. Although only one part of me, society, humanity, is literally alive right now, and the other part is repetitive, which means lives in the past, means is caught up as repetitive processes in the past. And we all carry those inside. We're all part of the world of the past, and we're all part of the world that is right now. And so the spiritual path is actually like a continuous coming closer and a refinement, not a looking for where is the end, like how do I get there? There is no there, because the there is defined by what's not here. When I look, how long do I need to practice? It's a statement about my absence. When will I get there is the reverse of what's not here. And so that's why the more I practice, I see, well, that question doesn't make sense. That's not the question to ask. The practice is coming closer and refining the present experience right now. And the present experience right now. And every time I run into challenges, every time I run into difficulties, I see that as teachings to onboard more of the past into now and into now. And like that, I in a way reduce the karmic delay more and more and more, until whatever exists is only defined by its existence. It has no explanation outside of space and time of this moment. It's not defined by the fragmentation, it's defined by its deepest presence. So certain questions over the time as we walk our path drop away, not because we shouldn't ask them, because they don't make sense anymore. They dry out. It's like leaves on the tree. They drop off the tree because they don't make sense anymore. And so the more present our life becomes, certain questions fall off. They are not anymore drivers of our evolution, because they were part of the karma. And that's why I ask about the distancing, because distancing, as we saw, is an intelligent function that protects us, but it also freezes the world in a certain state. It freezes the world in a certain state. And these are all the processes that we struggle with in daily life, that we talk about when we talk about politics. Many times we talk about those non-emergent processes. When we talk about that's how life is, when we feel it's difficult, non-emergent processes. Because in presence, there is nothing that's how it is. That's how it is doesn't exist in presence. It exists only in the past. In presence, I don't know how things are because they're emerging. They're rising right now, and they're rising right now, and they're rising right now. And so when we practice coming closer, and also coming closer means also when we live more and more essential life, when I notice more and more what's actually essential in my life, when I live a life that is more honest, and then live a life that is more aligned, when I refine my interactions with people, with myself, with life, with dear ones, and I continuously refine my life, when I come closer to divine creation, I'm more and more immersed in the river. So becoming more essential means I am becoming movement. I'm less and less defined by what's less moving. I'm more and more immersed in and as the movement of life. But it's very important because that changes my center of gravity. Because if movement, we all know how good it feels when things are flowing. When are things flowing? When they are liquid. Then they are flowing. And so when we become more and more immersed in the movement, we are grounded more in the resource of life, of living. And that helps us to onboard the parts that are not moving, that are reduced in their movement. Karma is a reduction of movement. And so the movement, the more I'm resourced in the movement, we could call it in the trauma work resource. In the spiritual work, we call it creation itself, because creation is pure movement. God's pure movement. The expression of God is pure movement. So the more I open myself to movement, I open myself to insight, I open myself to allow the light to put words on my tongue that are not premeditated. So that more and more I say things that come through versus I thought about them before. That's also movement. Movement exists in many different levels. So movement through my body, light flowing through my nervous system. As we said last time, words becoming carrier waves of the movement of my soul, filling the space of creation of my life. So all these principles are coming out of movement. So when we liquefy with each other, the world, another way to describe movements is higher coherence. I asked last time, what is the moment of insight? When we are not aware of something and suddenly we become aware of something. What happened? In our nervous system, there is a jump in coherence. What does it mean, jump in coherence? There is more of the world is included in the way I live. And insight means more of the world is included in the way I live. Is intimacy with a new part of life. And that allows me to create more coherence, and I feel less separate and more inclusive of life. And that's why I also seem to understand it more, or seem to become aware of it more. And that the moment of insight doesn't only depend on me, it depends on the download of light. In me, it depends on everybody in the world. Everybody that has an insight right now contributes to the probability of me having an insight. The more I practice my spiritual practice, the download of my soul, the light, as we said before, when I practice, I allow light to come in, it brings insights. When I expose myself to conversations with other people that feel very resonant, generate one side of insight. People that I disagree with generate another kind of insight. So if I expose myself not just to what's comfortable, but also to what's uncomfortable, to a certain degree, I generate more insight. So there are multiple things I can do to create an ecosystem that generates a lot of insights in me. And also my body, like through my body, when I ask at the beginning of the meditation, connect to the parts that are flowing, I connect to millions of years of life. That generates another kind of insights. So when I connect to the flowing parts of my body, I'm not just connecting to my physical body that is some decades old. I'm connecting to the intelligence of life that coheres as me right now, and that coheres as you right now. So these are all ways to generate more insights, which means vertical and horizontal attunement practices that help me to host more of the world in the hub of consciousness, in the space that I am. And so in a way, this constant refinement, that I'm committed to continuously refine my path, not to be self-critical, but to notice, oh, I said something and it was a bit out of line or out of alignment, and I refine it. That's coming a step closer. Tuning in with my soul is coming a step closer. And every time I realign my life with my essential stream, more liquefaction happens. More liquefaction happens. But sometimes that liquefaction doesn't come only from inside. It comes through challenges that I experience in my life that I need to go through in order to open up a part of myself. So it also comes in the form of daily life challenges that are here for me to open up a part in myself. Not just to disturb me, but to show me a deeper part of myself. And so the whole set of practices in different areas are flow-inducing, insight-inducing, presence-liberating practices in order to reduce the blurriness of life, like cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, and restore that into the first cause, like divine alignment. And in divine alignment, there's only one cause, there's only one movement, and not many. So that's why I often say that real wealth or abundance is that there is only one choice, not 100 candies. Real abundance is to be able to go into a shop and choose the one candy, not have the option to choose 100. So the divine alignment is first, and every other choice is a follow-up. Not the other way. There are many choices, and I have no internal compass what to choose. So then there are many choices, but I feel like without compass. So the realignment is first, and that informs my life. And so I would like to let that rest for a moment and come back to the different practices of insight and see how that relates to your life. Like when we have the light, like the soul, and the refinement of what's essential. The exposure to resonant relationships and to challenging relationships. Like, do I stay in my comfort zone, or do I expose myself to things that carry friction, challenge, different worldviews? in order to open up my universe and look what's challenging in there. And in general, my relationship to challenging life situations or processes. Is that something I welcome? Is this something I resist? And then the meditation on millions of years of living encoded in and as my body. Millions of years of living encoded in and as my emotional, mental, spiritual, relational system. So that I use the wisdom that is encoded in my body, because I open up my internal map. I get to know my inner landscape more and more, and I reveal or harvest the information that is stored in my body. But not just in my body as a person, in my body as a continuum that is millions of years old. So I shed the idea that my body is as old as my passport says, in order to unlock the wisdom in my body that is millions of years old. Because if I live in this belief that my body is only 40, 50, 60 years old, then I block the access to a much wider wisdom. But if I liberate my mind and I can see, wow, yeah, my body is a continuation of lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And maybe I have access to lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of wisdom. And that's not only true for me and myself. I meet the world through lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of wisdom. That's how I meet other people. So my capacity to be attuned and in tune and hosting is way richer than if I relate to other people as a separate person.
Thanks for listening to Point of Relation with Thomas Hübl. Stay connected and get updates about new episodes by visiting our website, pointofrelationpodcast.com, and by subscribing to the Thomas Hübl YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share about us with your community on social media. Thank you. We appreciate your support.